Right, so today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reviewing every comic book that I read like last week and over the last 2 weeks. There's only like 6, so it should be a short video. I used to do videos like this way back when I started, and then I stopped because they weren't doing well, they weren't doing great, but when I started doing the single issues, those weren't doing very well either. So I'm going back to like the whole bulk. I'm going to have timestamps in the comments below to let you guys know when I'm going to be talking about each book. So hopefully this is a lot more. This is a lot better because you get everything in one place. And if you want to see what I think about every book, then just watch the whole video. If you're only here for one specific book, look in the timestamps for when I'm talking about that book, and then you'll see. If you're just watching this video because you're just here to support me and what I do, I appreciate that massively. But yeah, I guess you'll be watching this in the background whilst you're doing other stuff, and you won't really be paying attention to what I've got to say about the books. But either way, I appreciate any person watching this video, because it might be long, it might be short, I don't know. If it is long, I'll probably split it into 2 bits. If it's short enough, like under 20 minutes, then I will keep it as the thing. Obviously, I'll be taking out some bits when I become like nonsensical and go on a tangent, or just like breaths. But anyway, first book I want to talk about I'm going to be talking about these books in like the order that I liked them. So I'm going to go my least favourite to the pick of the week. Basically my best book of this week. But the first book I'm going to be talking about is Iron Man number 2. Iron Man number 2 is just meh. It's just meh. There's nothing inherently wrong about what's going on in Iron Man right now. There's nothing that's really getting me really invested in the book either, apart from the artwork. The artwork is brilliant, but everything else is just kind of meh. I have a feeling it's going to get better. Like, the Alex Ross covers are amazing, and they are doing to Iron Man what Alex Ross covers did to the Immortal Hulk, which is, it's a cool image of Iron Man, and you don't need much more than that. It doesn't need to be like what he was doing on Amazing Spider-Man, when he was just doing like Spider-Man fighting the villain of the week, which was just meh. It's not like investing, and you can't like take that and have that as just a poster on your wall. It's just something that works in the context of the comic, and most comics do that, and most artists do that. But Alex Ross with his covers is that you want an Alex Ross cover to be a poster on your wall. You want it to be like a background on your phone or whatever. That's the only really positive things I can say about this. There's nothing really going on that's forwarding the plot. I guess it's kind of linking in and kind of reminding me of like Iron Man Extremis, but all the things that I didn't like about Iron Man Extremis. It's really slow, and like we're not getting much on who the big bad of this arc is meant to be. And we don't really have any, like, and we just have, like, Iron Man going through different things, and he's trying to get himself killed in, like, a really spectacular way, and he's trying to see if people still care about him, which they don't, and, like, he even has this fight with the Absorbing Man, and people were betting on the Absorbing Man to win the fight, which, you know, he then goes into a deep depression about, and then there's a thing with Cardiac, and then like Iron Man gets sued or something. But Cardiac goes on a massive rant. He's basically about to kill like several people, several doctors, and Iron Man's the bad guy out of that scenario. And all of that stuff, and it's so by the numbers, and it's so movie. It's so much like the Iron Man films that it kind of loses an identity for itself, and I feel anxious for what the rest of the story is going to be. I don't feel excited for this big clash between Iron Man and Korvac, because Korvac's barely been in the book at this point. I know it's only the second issue, and I know we need to get to the third issue to see if it ups its game, but right now it's kind of at the bottom of the barrel, and I hate that because I love the artwork and I love Alex Ross covers, and everything about the book visually is great. It's just the writing is crap. Next book is Venom number 29. Venom number 29. Venom number 29 is great, kind of ish. I don't know. I don't know what I think about this current arc, because on the one hand it's leading into the Null stuff and it's giving us more information about Null that we want and that we've been asking for, and it's interesting, but also it's kind of not like, we don't need this arc. We can get the information that we're getting from this arc to lead into King in Black without this kind of interlude. It's just more filler. This whole Venom Beyond storyline has just been filler as a thing to like give us a breath whilst just before King in Black starts, which I kind of respect Donny Cates for doing that. It's just that I've seen filler arcs be written better. I've seen them be written better by Donny Cates. I've seen filler arcs with better artwork. The artwork in this is terrible. I really don't like this art style that they've chosen for this book. It's interesting seeing like Dylan being the bad guy, even though it's not Dylan Brock, and it's and it's interesting seeing how Eddie is like interacting with the rest of the other symbiotes, and how he's interacting with this woman who was his girlfriend in another universe, but it isn't the same version. And it's interesting seeing all of that, but it's the fact that we've seen stuff like this being done before, much better, with a much better artist, and written better, and like with a better setup. And the whole thing with Scorpion, he's in this issue for 2 panels. Like, it's set up in the last issue that it's going to be a big fight. It's not. This whole, like, oh yeah, by the way, the War Machine Venom thing, Agent Venom War Machine thing, virus, that was Matt Gargan. He gets another symbiote here, he becomes Scorpion again, and he fights Venom, and that lasts 2 pages. It lasts 2 pages, and it's not even like it's a really interesting 2 pages. It's a shit fight. It's terrible. It's the worst fight I think I've read this entire year, like in comic books. It's really bad. It's so anticlimactic for the amount of build-up that they had. It's like you're trying to build Matt Gargan Scorpion as to be this big threat to Venom, but he's just not. He's just a joke, and it's not like funny like whenever like the fight with Mysterio in the Spider-Man 2 game, or the fight with the Electrocutioner, it's just a bit sad. It just comes off as a bit sad and a bit lazy as well. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy most of the things in this issue, but it's just the stuff with Null that's leading into King in Black, and some of the interactions are kind of fun-ish. I kind of see what Donny Cates is trying to do with this arc. It's just the actual execution is bad. It's really bad. Okay, so next book I'm going to talk about is new number 1. I was kind of excited for this. I just saw that the book was out, and I was like, I want to read that, so I bought it, and I read it, and it was okay. It wasn't great, and that is Werewolf by Night, issue 1. So we've got this new Werewolf by Night, who's not the same as the old Werewolf by Night, and take a drink every time I say Werewolf by Night. I'm not going to say it anymore, but the new guy is kind of, he's trying to be a good guy, and he doesn't really want to use his powers at all, but he has to because they're kind of forced on him at night. So this woman, this girl that he's friends with, is trying to direct the werewolf that he turns into to do like good things and to be a hero. In the background we have Red Wolf, who's working with the government to basically round up teenage superheroes, and they're kind of treating them like terrorists. This is like tying in with the whole outlawed stuff that's going on in Miss Marvel and all that, and I'm not reading any of those books, so I don't know what's going on over there, but they're basically just like acting as though teenage superheroes are like terrorists, essentially, which is stupid and dumb, and I hate that idea. And like and eventually they're going to lead into him fighting the Werewolf by Night, and it's a load of malarkey that I don't want to go into. But what happens in this issue is it's basically just set up. It's basically just, here's your character, he's a new character, and this is what he's all about. It's fine, it's serviceable, we get some good action in it. The artwork is very Mark Bagley-esque, and which I like. I like Mark Bagley's artwork, and I like the way that the werewolf is drawn. And by the end of the issue, we get these other like cyborg like werewolves, which our protagonist is going to have to fight at the end. And it's fine, it's serviceable, it reads kind of like every other first issue you've ever read. Apart from there's a lot of dialogue, and it felt like it took me double the time to read this than it did any of the other books that I read. And yes, all the other books that I read were kind of quick reads. I think that's because most of them were like filler issues. But this just felt like a longer read, and I don't know if that's because the quality of the writing was less, or because like there was just more text to read. Or I don't know if it was because there's more pages in this because it's a first issue, and first issues usually have more pages than like the rest of the mini series, which this is going to be, or the rest of the series. Next book I'm going to talk about is Thor number 8. Thor number 8. First off, Olivier Coipel on the covers. Fucking brilliant. Genius choice, Donny Cates. Because he draws Thor like no other artist draws Thor. He draws Thor to be a fucking badass. And even when he's just sat there eating a burger, it's a cool drawing because Olivier Coipel is drawing it. And his artwork needed to be throughout the book because, like I said, he draws Thor like no one else draws Thor. Unfortunately, it's Aaron Kuda, whose artwork I usually like, but here it's kind of too cartoony for the story that they're trying to tell. And I mean, I like seeing Iron Man and Thor play off each other. I like that there's so many callbacks to the Straczynski run, and like when Asgard actually was like put on, was like taken directly to Oklahoma and was like held above this desert in Oklahoma. And I like how there's like a lot of callbacks to that, but the whole issue is literally just a big joke about Straczynski's run. And when that happened, we even have Iron Man punching Thor in the face, and he literally says the reason why he did that was to call back to when they had a fight in Straczynski's run. But like the whole thing that I don't like about these last two issues of Thor is that nothing really happens. Nothing really interesting happens to lead into the next arc, apart from the very end where Thor is like, I'm going to talk to an old friend, Donald Blake, who used to be Thor before Thor became Thor full time, when Donald Blake was separated from Thor. But then was Donald Blake in then Thor did become Donald Blake again in Straczynski's run. And there's a lot of callbacks to Straczynski's run. It's a big thing. I think Donny Cates really likes J. Michael Straczynski's run on Thor, which it was a fucking amazing run. So of course he would like it. It was a great run. But yeah, there's a lot of callbacks to that, and I feel like this whole issue just served as a massive callback to that, and a massive love letter to J. Michael Straczynski's run on Thor, which is good in one way, but bad in another way, because it just feels like copy and paste. It does feel massively like copy and paste. It does feel like, oh, so you've got Iron Man here, he was there in the run. There, Iron Man and Thor are having a bit of a disagreement. That was in Straczynski's run. It's happening in Oklahoma. That was in Straczynski's run. A big thing of cosmic importance lands up in the middle of a desert in Oklahoma. That was in Straczynski's run. Random people interacting with gods. That was in Straczynski's run. And that's in here as well. It just feels like copy and paste, which, you know, it's good that this is happening, that writers are allowed to like basically just show their love for a specific run or a specific writer and just say, I respect you, your work is like a massive inspiration for my work, and thank you for writing the awesome comics that you did. I hope that you like this, which I took inspiration from your work. That's awesome. I love that. But when it feels very, very, very similar, and when you're doing practically the exact same things, it feels a bit copy and paste. I hate to say that because I loved Donny Cates at the start of the year. It's just now, when he does a filler issue, he can't do filler. He does brilliant, big, bold storylines, but filler issues, he just, you know, he falls flat when it comes to just writing a filler story. And that's the hardest thing to do as a writer, is to write a good filler story that feels like it's still important. And Donny Cates just really can't do that. It's like his biggest downfall. When he does the big bold stories that like are event style books, he kills it, and he's one of the best writers at doing a big, massive storyline. When it comes to the smaller stuff, the filler issues, no, he doesn't do it. Get Cullen Bunn to do that. Next issue I'm going to talk about is Juggernaut. Juggernaut is the first issue I kind of hated. I didn't like it at all. This issue still has the same art problem, because the artist is the same, but I kind of like having the Hulk in this issue. He kind of makes it fun, and seeing how the Immortal Hulk just feeds so much guilt into Clint Marko. It really is engaging to read. The rest of the issue is kind of just meh. I don't really like the girl tag along that Juggernaut is with, but Clint Marko is written really well in this, and so is the Immortal Hulk, and that's kind of the most important stuff, because it's a Juggernaut book, and having the Juggernaut written well in a Juggernaut book works, and that's kind of perfect for me. I can't really say I love this, because it needs more issues, and kind of the art needs to change, because this is the same artist that did that Old Man Logan versus Deadpool book, and the art there worked because it was Old Man Logan versus Deadpool. Here it's Juggernaut. Juggernaut needs a kind of more clean artwork. It's way too muddy for my liking, and I don't really like it. It's not my cup of tea. If it was a more aggressive book, then yeah. But the whole point of this book is it's trying to make Juggernaut into a more sympathetic, more heroic character. I don't think the artwork represents what they're trying to go for all that well. The final book I'm going to talk about, and my favourite book of the week, is Spider-Man Last Remains, Spider-Man issue 50.1, Last Remains. The Last Remains tie-in, essentially. This is basically what happened before or in between, issue 50. This is basically just, adding more, detail into the fight that happened after Norman Osborn was chucked out of the submarine thing, and it's basically just adding more context to how Spider-Man got so fucked up, and it's fucking brutal what happened to him, because he literally had Silk just cover him in spiders that all just infected him with enough toxin to kill a baby elephant. And it's really brutal, and then they just go, they just leave, and the rest of it is Norman Osborn talking to a psychiatrist about Harry being a psychopathic murderer killer thing, and what even is Kindred's powers? What even are Kindred's powers? He's he can possess people, he can go into TV screens, he can fuck up people's minds, he can go into your dreams. What is Kindred's powers? What are his powers? And he's covered in centipedes as well. That's why I thought he was something to do with Swarm when he came in earlier, even though I don't know much about Swarm at all. I thought he was to do with Swarm, but no, it turns out he's Harry Osborn, even though Harry Osborn was alive in the Dan Slott run, but I guess the Dan Slott run didn't happen, which is a good thing. But I just love this. It is a filler issue, and it is just adding more detail into what happened before issue 50, even though it comes out after issue 50, but it's kind of a prequel to issue 50. I love it. I love everything about this issue, because Norman Osborn is written well, the artwork is really good, it's a really brutal fight, which I love. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what else is in store that Nick Spencer has. This is just a really simple fight issue, and it's a really brilliant fight issue. I loved it. I cannot complain about Spider-Man at the moment. It is so good. The only complaint is I wish this happened 30 issues ago. Because waiting until issue 50 for things to get this good it's a slog, and Spider-Man has been a slog, and trust me, there have been some bad arcs, in this, but it's finally getting to the point where it's really good, and I'm really excited to read every single issue of Amazing Spider-Man going forward. I can't wait to see what they do after like Kindred's done and like the aftermath, because apparently the aftermath of the Kindred like saga is going to be like just as fucked up as the whole lead up to it. So I cannot wait to see all of that. And we're finally getting a really dark Spider-Man story. It feels like a really long time, because a lot of the Spider-Man stories leading up to this, the whole of Nick Spencer's run has been comedy focused, and now we're doing a really dark horror story, and I cannot get enough of it. I'm really excited to see what Nick Spencer has in store going forward. With that being said, that is every book that I read last week. I'm going to see how this video does, see what kind of feedback I get from it. If it does well, I'll be doing the comic book review videos like this going forward. If it doesn't do well, then I'll go back to reviewing each single issue. On its own with individual videos. But fingers crossed this does well, because I kind of prefer doing this, because that means I can just bulk read all of the videos, all of the comics, and then just bring the video out to you guys. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that sub button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. Check out my Twitch, my Instagram, my Twitter, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.